Welcome to episode number 62. This week we're going to be playing part 2 of the Direct Connections episode that Jonny Mopar and I hosted on Facebook Live. The live stream was fun. There's going to be plenty more. This is part 2. I'm going to go ahead and kick this off right now. So without further ado, if you are a Mopar enthusiast, then you are in the right place. Don't go anywhere. You're tuned into the best Mopar enthusiast-driven podcast on planet Earth, and I'm your host, Chris Albrecht, better known as the Mopar Hunter, and this is Talking Mopars Direct Connections.
You're listening to Talking Mopars with the Mopar Hunter, your direct connection to all things Mopar.
So, of the guys here, who likes ratty muscle cars and who hates ratty muscle cars?
I love
Anybody?
them.
I like them.
I love them too.
them all.
But I know they're not for everybody.
I don't mind them, but since I'm a painter, I gotta make them nice.
See, I knew HEMIBill was just waiting in the wings. I knew it.
I saw him. He started a twitch as soon as you said ratty muscle car.
I get it. If I was a painter, I'd be like, let me paint that thing. You know what I mean? Yeah. They're awesome. I can afford them. I shouldn't say that. I'm close to being able to afford them. You know what I mean? Yeah, it's definitely a trend that I hope doesn't slow down, but in a way I do because I want them to stay cheap. You know what I mean? I've said it for a while that I think it would be cool to have a little small time dealership that just buys ratty muscle cars, because I think if you were smart about it and you went to the right locations, you could get a lot of cool cars that were close to running and driving, get them running and driving, and just sell them as project cars. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. I also think that a ratty.
Satellite.
Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. There was just 69 satellite here in Iowa that just sold for I think $2,600.
Holy shit! Wow.
I had a rust in the upper sale panel, and I had no money, of course, so I can't buy it. But
that's always when those deals pop up.
Oh yeah. God.
Yeah, that's who had it. But yeah, $2,600 had the 318 in it still. I mean, it needed some work to get running and driving, but the bottom was just super solid.
Wow.
So,
yeah, that's a deal.
So,
those are the cars. Those are the cars that go. Yeah, those are the cars that go really quick. Unfortunately.
It was the same day he posted.
Wow.
Week before last, I was out in South Carolina on business, and so with the all the coronavirus stuff taking place right now, work's like, hey, look, you have to drive, can't fly. You know, we don't want to risk exposure, all that stuff. Okay, fine, no problem. So I'm in a rental car, and I'm on my way home, and I'm in the heart of this little town called Seneca, South Carolina. And I'm driving through the woods to get to the interstate because it's way off the beaten path. And I miss a turn. So I have to cut through this little side road to get back to the main highway. And in this side road, it's like I drive through a junkyard, and I see in the woods a 4-door 70 Satellite. And I don't know about you guys, but it's ratty. I peeked and I just saw the taillights through the woods, and I'm like, holy geez, that's a 70 Satellite. And I look a little closer. I literally put the car in reverse, it's back up, and I'm like, oh, it's a 4-door. That's so sweet. I don't know about you guys, but I love all of them. I love the 4-doors, man. A 4-door body, I think is sweet. You know,
I have to agree.
Agree.
Oh yeah, that's all. I love them. I think the wagons, all that stuff is cool.
Love wagons.
Yes. So I saw a 70, and I've seen a 69 wagon Plymouth done up, to look like the Superbirds, the Roadrunners.
Okay.
And I think they look good. I've seen one done up like a GTX. It looked pretty good.
Yeah, they put the scoops in the back doors, right? Yeah.
In the back doors. Yeah, I've seen that. Looks sweet. But I love them all. I love the restored ones. I think it's great to go and see them and kind of get a resemblance of what they were back in their heyday. But man, there's something about that rattiness that just draws me like a moth to a flame. It is just so cool. Just get in it and drive it.
You know what? It for me, this is, I don't know how many people agree with this, but like in my heyday back in the 90s, I didn't have a lot of money. So most of the cars I bought were ratty to start with, and it was just to get them running. Like, you just got them running, and that's what you drove. That was your daily driver. It got you to work and home, you know? And I mean, sure, I wanted a nice car, but it was like all the emphasis, all the money I had to spend on the car always went into the engine first, you know? So it was like you'd hop up the motor, or you'd build another motor for it on the side until you could swap it, you know, and like paint and body was down the road. You know, Bill's sitting there waiting to go to work, and you didn't do it because you didn't have the money to do it, you know?
Right.
And I think now it's like, I think there's such a fondness for me. Like, those were good times, even though we were broke and we were poor. I had so much fun in those cars, and when I see a ratty muscle car, it kind of takes me back to that. You know, it's that vibe, that feel, and like I've told you in the past, with when I was talking about my Roadrunner, it was like, you know, that car was it was a beat up driver. I never worried about it. It just, when you could go thrash on a car and beat on it and not worry about scratching it or denting it, stuff like that, boy, that gives you a lot of freedom. You get that first one that's painted and stuff, and then you're like, you know, you got to park it out 100 yards away from a store so nobody parks next to you, or you can't leave its side at a car show because you're afraid somebody's going to lean on it or something, you know. It's just there's a lot of freedom in those old ones, in the ratty ones, you know.
Absolutely.
And I've done that. I've done the, you know, have to pack tennis shoes because you park so far away from the store, you know, the pristine car. I've done that, and I have a lot of respect for them, but I agree with you so much. You know, my car is, the paint job on it is literally older than I am. It was painted in 1977, and I just put some compound to it. The Organosol black it's still the original, you know, flat black on the hoods and the top of the quarters, front fenders and doors. But, you know, I buffed it out as best as I could, put the stripes on it, and literally I don't have that fear, you know, and that's something that for me is relieving, as opposed to times of old when I've had that car parked miles away, and, you know, I've had the GPS tracking alarms and everything else, and I was just so fanatic about it. And I actually had a car in college that I lived in I lived in some dumps, man. I think my rent was like $200 a month, and it was like in the middle of the ghetto, right? I mean, it's all I could afford as a starving young mechanic, right? But I had a nice car, and it was down, you know, in the parking lot, and I would wake up in a cold sweat in the middle of the night, like, oh my God, was that the cam? Did somebody crank up my car? And I would just top speed. I'd run downstairs, go out into the parking lot. It was like, oh, it's still there. Thank God. When I would take the car out, I literally had a heavy gauge steel chain wrapped around the axle. I drilled, my landlord didn't know this, I drilled anchors into the parking lot. My parking spot was, I would padlock it. I would take the entire ignition system off the car. I would pull I had a standalone fuel system on the car. I would pull the fuse for the car. I mean, it was like a 20-30 minute ordeal to kind of, you know, make this unstealable car, because my friends were getting theirs stolen left and right, you know? And so I started dating my wife, my girlfriend, you know, she's my wife now. And I remember just one night just waking up in a cold sweat, and she's like, oh my God, what's wrong? I was like, somebody's stealing my car. And it's like,
that's funny.
That versus now, it's just, I don't have that anxiety, you know?
Yeah, it's funny. I did the same thing when I got my Coronet painted. I pop the distributor cap off and pull the rotor out, put it in my pocket when I leave the car. And then I thought, man, somebody might figure that out. So then I would pull the ballast resistor off the ballast resistor, the plug, and I would set it on top of the prong. So if you looked at it, it looked like it was plugged in. So if somebody tried to start it and they had their own rotor, I don't know why it's not starting. Hopefully buy some time. But yeah, ton of anxiety.
That's hilarious. You don't have to worry about people stealing your cars if they don't run. So I don't have that problem.
That's true. That's true.
So, the guy I got my car from, I remember when he first delivered it, and he dropped it off. I'd bought a car from him before, so this go around he drove it over, he trailered it over to my place. And I remembered maybe that night trying to get it started. It sat in the barn since the 80s. And I was trying to get the 340 started, and I just couldn't figure it out. And I was like, why don't I have spark? Why don't I have spark? So, all right. So I whip out the test light, and I'm going after everything. I find the most miniature kill switch I've ever seen in my life. This thing was like a toggle switch. It was like an ant. It was hidden in the fresh air duct. You had to reach your hand into the fresh air duct, go up, and just kind of feel around there. And the only reason I found it was I was, looking under the dash, and I saw some brown speaker wire. What the hell is this going? And it went over and it tied to the ballast resistor, just like you're talking about. And I'm like,
nice.
You gotta be sure. So I flipped that little switch, and sure enough, it fired right up. After sitting for so long. But kind of the same thing, hilarious. Right? We all had these very, very troublesome ways, tried to make it harder to get stolen. And I just think now I live a little bit easier. I hit in the parking lot. I do have a GPS tracker on it because they're like $20 nowadays, right? But other than that, that's it. Like I go into a cruising the coast. We were a week-long cruising the coast in Biloxi. I'd leave it in the parking lot at the hotel. I'd go to sleep, and I'd sleep like a baby. And I knew, hey, I could always find it. Got a tracking bug on it. I'll pull out my cell phone. I know where it's at. I'm not going to worry about it. I'm not going to worry about the paint getting scratched. I'm not going to worry about a little kid breathing on it too heavy. The way I look at it is, it's up to us to keep this passion alive, right? And when I see a little kid gawking on a corner or at a car show, and it gives an opportunity to discuss the car and, educate them on what they are and instill that passion in them. That's what I like about this rattiness is, hey, go ahead, touch it. I caught my kids climbing in it like the Dukes of Hazzard 2 days ago. I didn't freak out.
That's awesome.
Nice. Hey, Dan says, me
See,
and my
I had an opposite.
Go ahead, Bill.
Yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead, Johnny.
I was just gonna say.
I was gonna say that I had the opposite problem.
There's a delay with you, Bill.
Charger RT, the one that was sassy grass green. Yeah, I know. My 71 Charger RT that was sassy grass green. I did a full restoration on it, and in 2000, and one day I was driving it, and I was actually picking up a date, and somebody hit my car in an apartment complex. So, needless to say, the date didn't go very well. I took the car home, and I had it at my house, and I'd start to sand out the scratches, and I'd just start to cry, and I'd put the car cover back on it. And then another day I'd go out and put some primer on it and cry and cover it back up. It probably took me weeks to touch up the door and the quarter panel from a key. And I don't think I drove it much after that. And I ended up selling the car in 2001. There's some photos of it on my website if you ever want to go there and look at the old cars. Mm-hmm. It's very heartbreaking. So I understand the desire to keep it, low key and nobody wants to steal it because it doesn't look flashy or anything. But as a painter, I got to keep them nice somehow.
Yeah. Oh no, I think you do great. I mean, if we don't have good painters, then how could we really appreciate, some of those body lines? A good clean paint can really show off some of them beautiful body lines.
Yeah.
And it's great to have those beautiful cars out there. I don't want to take anything away from that. Absolutely not.
I think ultimately it's not one over the other, kind of like the new Challengers and the old muscle cars. It's like they're all their own camp in a way, you know. And it's nice that they're all in that Mopar vein. We can all own all of them, but it's like, okay, you got the new Challengers or the Chargers, and you got, you know, some nice muscle cars, and you got some ratty muscle cars. It's like, it's almost like the best world would be if you had one of each, you know, and you could experience each.
Trying, Johnny, trying.
Right.
I hear you.
Did you guys ever?
Bill, you were.
Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
Bill, you were talking about. Go ahead. Go ahead, Johnny.
I was just gonna say what Dan Streeter was saying. He said, "Me and my coffee could start our own ratty muscle car dealership."
yeah, you could.
It's probably true. Okay, go ahead, guys.
Ugly duckling car rental.
Look, I want to have a little expansion, a little spin-off of Bill's story here, talking about dates. So here's this was when I had a nice car. When I talk about, like, you know, nice paint and everything, when I had a nice car, and, you know, I was a young man, I was dating at the time. My secret to keeping a nice car at that point in time was to have a really shitty car. Okay. So the rite of passage, get this, guys. So I had this really busted up 1990 Nissan pickup truck, little hard body, right? And this thing was so bad. I mean, my dad borrowed it one time, and he broke a key off in the door, so you could unlock it with like a pocket knife. About a month later, somehow a key got broken off in the ignition. It was the same way. You could crank it up with a pocket knife. So when I would go pick girls up for a date, I would show up in this. Oh, that was so bad. It had no paint left on it. It would made the timing chain, I'm pretty sure, was trying to eat its way out of the end. It drank oil like a sailor drank alcohol. It was the worst thing ever. It was so bad. And I remember I met my wife. We were out, mutual friend's birthday party, and you know, we kind of hit it off great. She went home, I went home, and the next day I was like, hey, you know, would you mind picking me up? I left my truck downtown. I had a little bit too much to drink. And I think it was at the point where I had to climb in through the sliding glass and fish pocket change out of the ashtray to crank it up to drive it home. I think that's when she fell in love with me. So I think, you know, at that, she didn't even actually see my nice car until like the third date. She was like, wait, you actually don't have just this piece of shit? Great. That's awesome. You know? But it was twofold, right? Make sure they like you for you, not just your cool car. And the second thing is it keeps your car from getting all banged up.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Because when they're out on the street, I mean, they're exposed to all kinds of things, and it seems like, well, I don't know, maybe it's more of nowadays, but when I drive an old car now, it's like, man, it's awesome because everybody's got their eyes on you. And it's like, it's good because that means you're not going to, you know, be daydreaming somewhere and slamming into the back of my car. You know, it's like, yeah, here I am. Keep your distance, you know? So.
Yeah. It's cool, man. But there's just something about them too. And they're not on every corner. We're talking Mopars, right? You know,
yeah.
I don't know how it is in your neck of the woods, but in Louisiana, rarely ever do I see a vintage Mopar. And when you go down the street, it's like necks are just snapping. It's like, oh my God.
Yeah.
Is that what I think? Yeah. It's cool. It makes you smile because, you know, you see the appreciation in people's faces of something that you're passionate about yourself, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. I think Blake, I think
Iowa, if you don't saying in Iowa, if you see an old Mopar, you typically know the person. There's just not many around that nobody doesn't already know about. And even the guy that I work with, the big Mopar shop, he even said growing up, he was a Mopar guy, and it was weird because everybody thought Mopars were dumb. Nobody around here liked them. So he said it's hard to find them then. Back in the 70s, it was hard to find them really. performance stuff. Not your run of the mill 4-door stuff. So he's a guy that you need to get on sometime. He's got some neat stuff.
Yeah, send him my way.
I think here maybe Bill could attest to this. I don't know if it's like that where you are, but it seems like, because California is pretty densely populated, right? It's a lot of urban developments around here and stuff, but it's like I feel like I should know every Mopar guy that's local, but constantly you'll see one just going down the road and you're like, holy shit, where does that guy live? Be a 69 Charger or 68 Roadrunner or something, you're just like, where the hell? Like, I think there's just a lot of cars hidden in garages. Guys don't drive them every day. You just have no idea. Like, right local to me, there's a 71 black Roadrunner, and the thing's got a Hemi in it. His license plate says Hemi, and I'm like, holy shit! And it's I think it's blue and yellow plates on it, the old original plates to that era car, but like I've never seen the guy at a car show. I've never met him anywhere, but I've seen him like 3 times now.
Wow.
So I think there's a lot of stuff hidden around here.
Yeah, I'll say that's a hell of a car. Shit.
Yeah.
I love those.
Yeah.
And that was acquired taste.
I used to know all the local cars up here. But they don't come out very often. And a buddy of mine moved back up towards Chris's area and took 9 Mopars with them. So that emptied out a good portion of the ones that were in this area. But here's an idea for the guys that like the ratty Mopars, but they want an anti-theft device. The best one I ever saw was a friend of mine that had his ignition system wired into the cigarette lighter. So when he parked his car, he just pushed in the cigarette lighter, and that shorted everything out. And you wouldn't realize it. If you tried to steal it, it wouldn't start because it shorted out. He goes to leave, he just pulls the thing out, and off he goes.
That's pretty awesome.
That's amazing. I think I have the ultimate way to prevent theft of your vehicle right now. Just take a little yellow Post-it note and just stick it on your steering wheel and just write, I have COVID, sucker. And then just say,
I licked this steering wheel.
Oh, man. That horrible joke. Sorry, guys. Blake, I did want to mention this because you mentioned 4-doors earlier, and I don't know if you guys saw on my personal Facebook feed, but gosh, a few months ago now, maybe even longer than that, I kind of lost track of time. There was a 69 Coronet 4-door that I saw, and it was $2,000, and it was green with blue interior, factory. I thought that was very, very weird, but for a long time, I have thought that, because you see wagons, and wagons kind of caught on, and there's been a couple wagons I've seen for sale that are pretty pricey, but I still think that there's a nice little market for sedans, and I think that pretty soon we're going to see a huge influx of people buying Mopar sedans and hot rodding them. I think they're going to be making a huge,
Well, I think we're getting to the point of attrition. It's like, in the 90s. A-bodies, nobody wanted A-bodies. They were just everywhere. They were plentiful. Mm-hmm. Like I said, I've stumbled across 340 cars. I could have had a 69 GTS with a 340 in it for $500, and I thought, I kick myself in the ass now, but they were just everywhere. And shit, if it had a slant 6 or a 318, you can pick them up for nothing. Go to the junkyard, there was probably 5 or 6 of them in the junkyard. And now look at them. They've dried up to some degree, and shit, they're starting to bring, you're starting to get into 20,000-25,000 for really nice A-body, like especially Demons or early Dusters or Darts, it's just crazy. And so I think, when in the 90s, the E-bodies were the cars that were taking off. The Cudas and the Challengers were just going into the stratosphere. You can still find a lot of B-bodies. B-bodies were still everywhere, fairly cheap in relatively, and you look at them now, And I think maybe the new Challengers kind of stopped the 70 and 71 Challengers from really taking off. It's kind of like moved part of that market to the newer stuff because you still got that cool vibe, but all of the bells and whistles. And now B-bodies are kind of like right there and even surpassing E-bodies in some cases. So I think as stuff dries up, these young kids, the young kids that are coming into the hobby now that happen to really like Mopars, and maybe they're working at McDonald's or Starbucks, they're not making a ton of money. What are they looking at? They're going after. I mean, what can you afford? It's going to be the early A bodies. It's going to be 4-doors. It's going to be C bodies. I think. I think that's kind of how you get into the door. And then enough guys start doing that, and it starts driving up the price on those cars. I mean, the 90s, a 4-door was a parts car. You didn't. Yeah. If it ran, you might have drove it, but you probably bought it for parts.
Yeah, they're rare. They're a rare commodity now. That's why every time I see them, I'm just super interested. I'm like, wow.
Yeah.
I think you hit the nail on the head when it comes to the youth, Johnny. I mean, when I was a young kid, my first Mopar, like I said, was that Duster. I got it for $1,500. You can't touch one for less than 5 or 6. Now in that similar rough shape. And you're talking about these kids and what they're looking at. I mean, there was at the time in the 90s and early 2000s, I turned my nose up at plenty of 70, 71 B bodies. I was like, man, that's just not my thing. It's like 68 or nothing. Right. And now I'm like, man, those are some really good looking cars. Like, why? I don't understand why I turned my nose up at them back then. But now it's like, I wish I could have one because there was, those deals that you passed up. I was at the Battleship show in Mobile, maybe 8 years ago or something like that. And there was a 71 GTX. It was originally a purple car. It was just a roller. And I think the guy wanted $2,500, and I just scoffed at it. I was like, no. And it was a big block car, I'm pretty sure, per the tags. But I mean, a solid project for $2,500. And back then I turned my nose up at it. So
yeah, were you like, that guy's on crack?
Yeah, I was. I was like, nah. Oh man, kicking myself for that one, right?
Well, I think when they were more plentiful, it's like you could still attain Coronets and Satellites and Belvederes for freaking nothing. Driving good cars for probably less than $1,000, So when you could get your hands on one of those, and don't get me wrong, because I like 3rd gen B bodies, but in comparison between those two groups, it's like, why bother with a 3rd gen Charger when you could get a 2nd gen Charger still for, maybe back then, maybe $5,000 for a really nice driver,
That's insane. When I hear that, it just blows my mind. I'm like, shit, what I would do if I could get my hands on anything between 68 and 72 for, a nice driver for $5,000. Shit.
Yeah.
That's just unreal. And Johnny's got them all. So.
Yeah. Yeah, I got that 72 for free.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I almost didn't take it, But
let's I see Braden here is talking about the 318 Paul, and you want the polyspherical 318, and he's asking what our thoughts are on that and the LA being the most underrated small block Mopars of all time. I agree with the LA being underrated. Most people with LAs, there's like, big block swap it, or that's probably what I see more common than anything is, if it's got a 318, I'll swap it out for a big block, or sometimes they step it up to a 360. I like 360s. I think they're great. 340s, while I like them because they're 340s, I just think that, aside from being able to say you have a 340, I would probably save some money and get myself a 360 and, build a 408 stroker or something like that. The 318 Poly, to be honest, I don't know much about them other than everything that I had been told early in my Mopar years was that they were boat anchors. But I learned that you could crank out a lot of power out of those 318 polys. But I've never actually looked into them as far as their history or anything like that. So maybe one of you old timers can talk about the Poly 318.
Well, I could tell you they're like bulletproof engines. Like I would never build one because trying to put high performance parts on it, it's just too expensive, and it's just more practical to go with an LA motor. But I mean, if you have a bone stock Poly 318 and like a 64 Dodge or Plymouth or even older back in the late 50s, I mean, they'll run forever. It's like, I don't know, you could probably put 500,000 miles on them and they'll keep running. So in that regard, I think the Poly's a bitchin' motor, but I wouldn't build it.
They're big. I didn't realize how big they were.
Oh yeah, they're tanks.
They're big.
Yeah.
So Johnny of mine used to build those. A set of 100 over pistons because the casting on the blocks was so thick you could bore the snot out of them. You put that and an inline 2.4 barrel intake on it, and they haul ass.
Jeez. That's insane.
I heard, oh God. Yeah, I know that I've run across some builds, and I'm trying to remember where I ran across them, but I kind of stuck my nose up in there and I was like, oh, Poly 318. But I swear I heard that it wasn't too hard. I mean, aside from, finding the parts and whatnot, I heard it's not too hard to get, 400, 500 horsepower out of them. I don't know how true that is. I don't know anything about the polyspherical 318. The only time, actually, this is kind of funny. The first time I actually ever saw one was, I think I was with my wife at the time. It was a long time ago. I went to go look at a 68 Fastback Barracuda. So I roll into this trailer park, and in the ad, it said 318 poly. And at the time, I didn't know what a polyspherical 318 was. So I was like, 318 poly, what the hell is that? And I went, and the guy said, hey, I'm not home, but the car's unlocked. Go ahead and take a look at it. I went and looked at it. It was a complete piece of shit, but I popped the hood, and I was like, and I'm looking at it, and I'm like, that's a 318? The thing I was like, holy shit, that thing's huge. And it didn't look right to me, obviously, because it was a Poly 318. So I ended up so I've done a little bit of research just to figure out what the hell it was, because I thought it was some sort. This is how stupid I was and still am. I was like, Poly, and I was trying to figure out what he misspelled. I was like, Poly, what the hell is he? And then I did a little research because I Googled Poly 318, and I was like, oh shit, I'm an idiot. So that's the first time I ever even learned anything about the Poly 318. And to be honest, I was like, a lot of people were saying, it's not worth the money that you would invest in it, compared to, even an LA 318, to get serious power out of it. I don't know how true that is. Braden says 525 horsepower.
Yeah,
it's
okay.
I believe him.
It can be done. They're just ridiculously expensive.
Yeah, that's what I think.
I saw so a friend of mine, he acquired a 65. I helped him get it. One of those, been under a lean-to for its whole life. It was a 65 Belvedere 2. 4-door, kind of that turquoise green colors. Patina was amazing. Just really good looking car for that ratty look. We pulled it out and we were like, oh yeah, let's see what we could do with this Poly 318. So rebuilt the carburetor, got it running, and we started looking at performance parts. And I think like the 4-barrel intake manifold for, if you could find one, was like almost $1,000. I was like,
wow,
manifold? Like it was, at that point in time, I'm like, what? Like, I'm used to the, Edelbrock or Holly, having a, decent intake manifold for like the sub 300 range, $1,000 for this, piece of cast iron that was, 50 years old. I was like, geez, that's insane. So funny story about that car. You're talking, Johnny, about livelihood. We had a massive flood down here in 2016, and his house was in a low-lying area. The car was 7 feet underwater. So the water was 7 feet above the roof, right?
Holy shit.
Yeah. Oh, it was bad. It was so bad. I actually went back there by boat to check on his dad who lived in that area, and the water was up to the eaves of his house, right?
Wow.
And so we had done all this work to this car, and we were riding it around, and it just went underwater. And I remember seeing, you could see the white of the roof under the water, but it was way down there. And when the waters seceded, everything went away. A young kid that worked at the local O'Reilly's, he bought it for like $500 off of my friend, and we were like, I mean, what you going to do with that? It's been completely underwater. It's probably just trashed. He drained the fluids, spun it over with, fresh fluids, everything in it, drain the fluids again, change them again. The kid is still driving that car to this day.
Oh, wow.
And that 318, that Poly 318 is kicking ass. Like, we're just dumbfounded by how durable this thing is. And it's just like, that car was 7 feet underwater, and this kid is just driving it around like no tomorrow.
I'm telling you, you can't kill those engines. No matter what you do to them, you just can't freaking kill them.
Wow.
We got our club car. It's 66 Plymouth Belvedere 4-door, and it's got a Poly 318 in it. And we put a 4-barrel on it. Chris bought one of those. If you go into like O'Reilly's or AutoZone, they have those adapters, and it's a 4-barrel bolt pattern to a 2-barrel intake manifold. Yeah. So we put that on the car, so it's got an Edelbrock on it now, and it runs fine. I mean, it's probably more carb than the engine needs, but yeah, it runs just fine. It's crazy. It's a cool car.
Wow. Now I'm gonna have to do an episode on Poly 318s because I don't know enough about them, and now I'm interested.
There you go.
Yeah, I'd like to see, you're talking about that, Johnny. What I'd like to see is, so Phytech has just come out with their 2-barrel setup that supports, pretty decent numbers, like 400 or 500 horsepower out of a 2-barrel. It's their, their new fuel injected 2. I wonder what that would do on a Poly 318.
Oh, that's probably the way to go. I mean, save the money on the intake manifold and just put a Phytech on top of it. Yeah, good to go.
That'd be interesting. See how much you could squeeze out of that.
Yeah.
That's definitely interesting. I didn't know anything about that, Blake. That's cool.
Now, and I think like the 318, I think the Poly has the same timing chain and even the same timing chain cover as the LA motor, right? Does anybody know?
That sounds correct to me, but I don't know for sure, but that sounds right.
I think so.
Yeah, I think so. Looking at it, it looks the same as an LA. I don't know how many parts are interchangeable from the LA motor to it, but I mean, at least timing chains are available. I'd be interested to see if the cam would. I don't think the cams change over on those, but it'd be nice if they did.
Yeah, we looked at those too, and we were like, "Yeah, no, no,
yeah, pricey."
Not gonna happen.
I don't think they change over because of the spacing on the intake and exhaust ports is different. So your order of the cam lobes would be different.
Okay.
Maybe.
I've never heard of them interchanging, so I think that would probably have been a popular thing if it was doable.
I think you're right, Johnny. I think more people would be more open-minded because I just don't see as many Poly 318 builds out there as LA 318s or 340s or 360s. Now I'm really curious about the durability because I've always thought that the Slant 6 was the most durable, which I think it is. But 7 feet underwater and still driving the damn thing. I mean, that's quite a statement. I'm curious now. I gotta look more into that.
My money's on the Poly. I would put my money on the Poly. Yeah.
Okay. Maybe we'll get popular enough where we can do a demonstration and we'll get a Poly 318 and a Slant 6 and we'll battle it out.
It might be a long episode.
We'll get crazy with it. We'll start pouring sand and we'll start pouring sand into them and get a little crazy. Braden says no cam changeover. I don't. What? Oh, okay. Does anybody know, Braden? Do you know what parts will change over, if any at all? I don't think any will. but that's just me. I'm just trying to dig up any memory I have of anything I've ever read on the Poly 318, but I don't want to speak out of turn or out of line.
Yeah, he's saying they're a pain in the arse.
Interesting.
Ryan Lusk says that they're definitely durable. He got a buddy that had a 66 satellite.
Okay.
Beat on it for years. I believe it. I know, in the back of the motor, it's the same as a 318, as a LA motor. So all the transmissions from either engine will interchange. But I had my wife's 64 Plymouth Savoy 4-door, it had a Poly 318, and I put an LA motor in it. And I think there was some issue with the torque converter. I can't remember what the deal was. I don't know if I tried to use the torque converter from the LA motor and put it into the push button trans and it wouldn't take it, or what. Something like that. It's a long time ago though.
There's a list of LA to A parts interchange. I looked up real quick while you guys were talking.
Nice.
But thermostat housing, internally balanced harmonic balancers from the 273 to 340, valve spring retainers and keepers, main bearings but not for the 360, rod bearings, crankshaft, reground 360s included, flywheel starter, both standard and high torque, 318 LA ring sets, timing chain and sprocket, fuel pump, oil pan but not from the 360, distributor pump drive gear, distributor standard points or electric. That's what the list shows.
Okay. Sounds about right.
Wow.
There was some Poly 318 genius out there. Somewhere, some day along the line, he's going to listen to this when it's in podcast form, and he's going to go, those fucking idiots. he's surrounded by Poly 318s, and he's just the Poly 318 god.
The most I knew before that came from Uncle Tony. Did a video like 11 months ago or something, just about the head design and how it predates the big block Chevy and stuff. That's
really? I like Uncle Tony. I'll have to go check that out. Definitely. Very, very cool. Yeah, I just don't see many people. I guess I'm just looking in the wrong areas or something, but I just don't see too many builds of the Poly 318, which now that I hear that it's so durable, now I'm really curious. So, like I said, I'll have to do an episode about that in the future sometime soon. Right on. So what else is happening, guys? We've had a solid 8, 9, 10. I think we got up to 12 people this watching, which is cool. I wasn't expecting much, so that's fine.
When I first started, it was at 17.
Oh, really? I didn't see that. I wish I had seen that. No. I'm sure people got on there like, okay, well, this was just supposed to be a trial run just to see what would happen, and I'm really having a good time. And I was wondering, bringing on more than just me and Jonny. I was like, okay, maybe one more and make it 3. I was worried that the more we brought on, the harder it would be to, it's like wrangling cats or something. I was like, oh, this is going to be rough, but so far so good. HEMIBill is on the delay, so it's made it kind of funny. I've been trying not to laugh when we talk and then he comes in. So it's technology, it's a bitch, but I'm having a good time. I see that Dan Streeter was asking me what the Mopar Hunters Association is. So Facebook just enabled me to have fan subscriptions. So basically I designate a certain monthly subscription fee and I can provide extra bonus content essentially for people that want to subscribe to the Mopar Hunter. So I've been kicking it around, and when you do it, you get a private group for subscribers. So I was trying to come up with a name, and I already have the Mopar buy sell trade group, which it's kind of out of hand in its own little way. So I was like, all right, well, once I get everything ironed out and I figure out how I'm going to do the subscription, what extra content I'm going to provide for that, then people will have access to a private group. Now, what that will be, I'm not quite sure yet. I was hoping that anybody that's willing to pay, it's going to be $4.99 a month. That was Facebook's suggested subscription price. I'm thinking that anybody that's willing to spend $4.99 to watch or listen to whatever I put out is probably going to get into that group. And I'm assuming if they have money to spend $4.99, I'm sure that you'll get more people that are more serious about spending money. You know what I mean? I see in these groups all over the place that when it's free, people go nuts and they will say whatever the hell they want. But if somebody had to pay $4.99, I don't think somebody's going to pay $4.99 to go onto a group page and say, oh, that guy's on crack. I don't think they're going to spend money like that. But it's also more than just the group page.
I think it's a great way to cut down on trolls.
Yeah, it definitely is. I was hoping that, you know, because I broke it down in my head because I was thinking to myself, okay, if I was not myself and I was looking at the Mopar Hunter stuff, I'm thinking to myself, okay, you know, I get to see all these cars and I get a little bit of entertainment and, you know, $5 a month. What is that? $1.25 a week. And I'm like, okay, plus you know, the podcast is free. And ideally, if I got enough subscribers, I would never have to worry about actually getting commercial ad sponsors to help me pay for the costs associated with the podcast. I would love for it to be ad free, you know, with the exception of my friends. Like, I don't want anybody to think that Hemi pages or DIY Hemi pay me to talk about. They're my friends. You know what I mean? So Blake, now if you get rich, Blake, I really only want to talk about stuff that I personally believe in and that I'm actually involved with. You know, I thought about, there's a lot of podcasts I listen to that they sell boner pills, Blue Chew. They sell boner pills and manscaping to shave your balls and just a bunch of, you know, so I'm like, I don't know if I could make it funny, I think, but I'm like, I just don't, I'm not really into it. I feel like that's selling out because talking Mopars, I'm talking Mopars, not your hairy balls. You know what I mean? So I'm hoping that once I figure out exactly what extra content I'm going to provide, which I think is going to be extra podcast or 2 podcasts, definitely, I don't want to put the lives that I do on there. Maybe I'll do an extra live. Maybe I'll do 2 lives a month, and one will be free, and the other one you can pay for along with the subscription. But I just want to make sure that it's worthwhile. What is worth $1.25 a week aside from what I already do? So that's what I'm still trying to work out the details. Dan, thanks for asking. So more on that. But hey, if people in the future are listening to this and you want to support the Mopar Hunter and what I do with the podcast, and maybe you don't want to fork out, you know, $20 to buy a t-shirt, but donate $5 for a month, you know, because you don't have to, you're not like locked in for a year or anything like that. You can try it out and then get out if you don't like what I'm doing or whatever. So I don't know. I'm just trying to figure it out. When Facebook said I was enabled for it, I was like, oh, I'll give it a shot and see what happens. So that's it. Now, if I get a crazy amount of subscribers, I was talking to Jonny Mopar about this, I would love to have enough money where I can just give away a project car, like once a quarter or something crazy like that, and just give it away. Because Facebook has all sorts. I had to read their terms of service because I didn't want to, you know, get on and then get booted off. And their terms of service basically say that I can't entice you by saying, hey, if you subscribe to the Mopar Hunter, I'll send you stickers. I can't give you a physical product, but what I can do is offer you content. They never said anything about giving stuff away for free. So maybe if I get 1,000 or 2,000 subscribers to this thing, maybe I can give away some project cars. I think that would be fun, and that's kind of in line with, you know, no Mopar left behind type thing. And I would love to be able to give a project car to somebody that's like, hey, you know, I'm having a hard time finding this, or maybe, you know, they're in a place where there aren't very many cars and they can't get one shipped to them. I thought it would be cool if I could cover the cost of the car and get it shipped to them. I thought that would be a fun way to give back to the Mopar community and maybe drive some traffic. I know that if I was outside looking in and I saw this guy's giving for $5, and I would try it just for a couple months, see what do I got to do to get this car. You know what I mean? So that's it, Dan. For now, we'll see what else happens here. I'm trying to launch it in the next couple weeks. I'm just trying to get some content up there so that when you pay me the $4.99, you don't go in and be like, there's nothing here yet. What the hell? So we'll see what happens with that. Any other new comments? What do we got here?
I think you have the rhythm. I think you got the rhythm.
$4.99 a month. That's a bigger investment than some of Jonny Mopar's cars.
Yeah. No shit. Yeah, I'm gonna now. Thanks, Bill. Now I'm gonna get people going. Why would I give you $4.99 when I can go get a Charger like Jonny? So we'll see. We'll see what happens. I'm kind of excited about it.
Trade you cars instead of giving you cash.
I should just say, hey Jonny, how about you hook a brother up with one of those Chargers, and I'll give you a small percentage of my subscriptions. And then when he finds out there's 2 subscribers,
I think I have some Hot Wheels around here. I can probably offer up
yeah.
that price.
Hey, I'll take those. That's funny.
No, I think it's a good idea. I mean, you have the cadence, you really have a history out there already. You know, you look at how many podcasts have come and gone, have failed, have really, I mean, what's the norm, Chris? It's like 7 episodes or something is the norm for most startup podcasts, something like that.
It's called pod fade. They fade out pretty quick. I forget the exact numbers, but there's hundreds and hundreds, maybe even millions of podcasts, and a large percentage of them are just dead in the water. So,
wow.
I just want to make sure, at the end of the day, I just want to make sure that I provide. I want it to be more than worth it. I want someone to go, I'm a $1.20. If I was telling Jonny this earlier, if my podcast to you isn't worth, and I'm not selling you on this, but if my podcast isn't worth $1.25 per week worth of entertainment, then I probably should just quit. You know what I mean? So I'm hoping that by pumping out some extra content and just, really, buckling down and getting some consistent stuff out there, that someone would go, that'd be worth it. That's fine. And, if anything, it's just to help support what I do, and maybe, who knows, if I could get this thing big enough, I would love to take this show on the road and do, in-person talking Mopars with HEMIBill, Jonny everybody that I know on a personal level, or that has come on talking Mopars. I would love to be able to take it on the road and actually, do video of these cars. If I could get your Mopar story in person on camera, that would be amazing. That's like my 5 or 10 year plan. So we'll see what happens, but it's fun. I'm having fun. So
I think you should do it. I really
everything's an experiment. This whole thing, the podcast was an experiment, and so far it's done really well. And I don't know, I like the first to market type thing. Now, technically I'm not the first to market, but for some reason, like Uncle Tony, I think he should have, if Uncle Tony ever listens to this, I think he made a huge mistake. Now, granted, he's killing it on YouTube, but I think he really should have stayed with the podcast, because podcasting is so huge. You don't have to sit and watch a podcast. You can listen to it. And like this, most people, if I'm being real here, most people are probably going to listen to this after I publish it as a podcast, so I think podcasting is where it's at. But like I said, to make it worthwhile for people, I think that giving them more than $1.25 a week worth of content should be cool, and it'll be fun. We'll see. Braden's out of here. Thanks, Braden. We'll come check you out. And what's your Instagram, Braden? Throw it out there for people.
I think he said known as the Beast with the 68 block.
Okay, I'll have to see what. So look up 66 Salvage Restoration Speed Shop, and that's how you'll find Braden. All right, how long have we been doing this, Jonny? A little over 2 hours.
Yeah,
this has been fun. We're gonna have to figure out, like, I would like to do this, once or twice a month, like I said, and just have an open forum. Anybody who wants to come on. This you won't be paying for. This will always be free. Matt Monroe. Gosh, it's late where you're at, man. Welcome to my world, editing late into the night. I've been averaging like 4 hours of sleep. It's bad. Like, I've been up since 4 o'clock and doing the podcast and stuff, editing late into the night. I've fallen asleep editing the podcast. That's how crazy it is. Here we go, Braden. 66 Salvage Restoration Shop. Restoration. 66 Salvage Restoration SP Shop. All one word. So that's where you can find Braden on Instagram. 115 where Matt is. Wow. Joe Fitzpatrick, are you on the West Coast? Myself, Jonny Mopar, and HEMIBill are. Bud is in Iowa, and Blake is down in the deep, deep, dirty South in Louisiana.
Yep.
I tried to convince my wife. Louisiana was my second choice, Blake. When I was talking to her about Texas, I was like, Blake's not too far from Texas. He's in Louisiana, down in the
we have good
by the bayou.
food.
Yeah.
Those hurricanes. So
Yeah.
Look, 2020 is a dumpster fire. We can't. I mean, it seemed like every other week we had a hurricane, and usually we have like, I don't know, maybe one named storm or so a year. So, yeah, guys, I'm trying to convince them to move down here. What are y'all doing?
Mosquitoes the size of Volkswagen
Right.
bugs.
Yeah, that the bugs that would
bite
definitely
if you feed them.
My wife definitely she's if she sees a spider, it is like it's pathetic. I won't go too into it because if she ever listens, she'll hate me. Joe, it looks like Joe's in Long Island, New York, 215. Well, Joe, either you have no life or you really like talking Mopars. So, no, I'm just kidding, buddy. That's cool, man. Thanks for joining us. I know it's late on a Saturday night.
That's dedication.
That is dedication.
Yeah.
I'm like I said, I would be happy if, a handful of people watched. So this is more than I expected. And hopefully, truth be told, we were supposed to be live on YouTube too, but I honestly have no subscribers. I just finished putting the my account together today, and then as I'm trying to go live on the damn thing, it's like, oh, you need to get approved to be live, and it takes 24 hours. So I was like, all right, Jonny, I already fucked it up. So here we are on Facebook. So next time we'll be on YouTube, and I got to figure out what I'm going to do to grow that channel. YouTube is a whole different animal. I know Jonny and Blake, you guys are doing it. Bud, do you do anything on YouTube?
I have Muscle Car Syndicate on there, but there's only 2 or 3 videos. One's a walk around on a 69 Roadrunner convertible I found.
Okay.
Cool. Shifter linkage on an A33 on a 70 Challenger TA. Having an issue with that, and I just put a quick video out just asking for help. Got nothing but 3 subscribers, and I think they're the other 2 are 2 of my kids and one's from Instagram. So I'm really tearing it up on there.
Big Block is back. Welcome back, buddy.
Hey.
But I don't know how to market it really or do anything either. And I'm not sure. I mean, I'd like to grow, but I don't have really the time to invest like I'd want to. So I'm not going to bother that right now.
It's an animal, brother. It is an animal.
Yeah. We wouldn't be where we are without Mike. I think we just clicked over 1,500 subscribers today,
Nice.
I think. But it's only grown in the past 3 months. I mean, for the last 2 years, I might have had 100, 200 subscribers. But I'll say he stepped in, and what I found is the key to that is just it's just some kind of a pace, a cadence, just like we're talking about with Chris. It's like you have your thing. Do you post once a week? Do you post once a month? And you establish that cadence. And there's a couple of other insights I could give you on how to post stuff out there that I've learned just from Mike when he kind of stepped into that role. But it is a beast, a new animal. It's funny because, I mean, we have like barely any followers on Instagram, but, a lot of people follow us on Facebook. And also YouTube. So it doesn't have to be polished. It doesn't have to be fancy. It's just setting that frequency, that getting that content out there is the number one way to drive the viewers to watch and to really follow along on your adventures, So it could be as simple as just opening the YouTube app and then doing like these live videos and just posting them like you would on Facebook or any other social media. That's the key, really, from what I've learned so far, and I'm no expert by any means.
everything I've ever heard. Especially in today's market, video is where it's at. And I'm late to the game. I'm late to every single game. I was late to Facebook. I was late to Instagram. I've been late to everything. So everything I've done Facebook's been the only thing that's actually popped for me. And I was strategic about how I did it. And Instagram has been a whole different animal. But I think that with talking Mopars, I've actually seen it grow quicker than I thought, because there was a period of time with the Mopar Hunter Facebook page where I saw everything stop, and I was like, what the hell happened? And I did some research, because I'm really into I drive a garbage truck for a living, for those of you that don't know. So I have a lot of time. So what I was doing was I was listening to podcasts talking about social media marketing and things like that. And I found out that Facebook really likes to tweak their algorithms, and they really wanted Facebook to be a, for friends and family type thing. And so they were basically saying, all right, businesses, you want to reach people, you got to pay us. So you have to find a way around that. My way around that was, okay, I'm already posting things that people, in the Mopar community would share most of the time, sometimes. So all it takes is, one post to go, I say viral, but that's subjective. For me, viral is if I get a 20,000 reach, and I can go weeks with getting, 5,000, 10,000 people seeing the stuff. And then one day I'll post a charger, an overpriced charger, and I just get 25 that it's shared 4,000 times. It's the craziest shit. But I noticed that video, from what every big influencer is saying, is videos where it's at. So, and it only takes one good viral video. You know what I mean? Like the asshole, like my first episode, I talked about the asshole that crushed the charger because nobody wanted to pay him what he thought it was worth. And he went viral. So, I mean, you can go viral by being an asshole. So, I mean, I like to see nice people go viral. So I hope nothing but success for all my friends. But yeah, it's a different beast. I don't like to tell people to give up, you know what I mean, with things like that. If you got, for one thing, any follower that you have is good. Just one person wanting to listen to you or whatever, that's an amazing thing. You know what I mean? I can't get my wife to listen to me half the time. So any stranger wants to listen to me, that's great. Cool. But yeah, you know what? While we're talking about this, why don't we go from the top of Jonny Mopar and go around and you guys plug all your YouTubes, whatever you guys got going on. So Jonny,
sure.
Go.
Yeah, so I have a YouTube channel. I only have maybe just over 100 subscribers, but it's a good group of people, and there's actually a lot of guys in my group that are kind of on my same level, just do-it-yourself type stuff, working on your car and, sharing the issues you've gone through, tips, recommendations, or whatnot. So hopefully it'll grow. If anybody's interested, look me up, Jonny Mopar, on YouTube. And but if you want to just a recommendation, there's a guy called Nick Nimmin. He gives like a lot of advice on how to build your YouTube channel. I've been listening to him a lot too, and there's actually a lot of good tips in there and stuff. So that's it for me.
Oh, cool.
Awesome. HEMIBill, you're up.
He left.
Hey, HEMIBill, don't you ever do that again. Oh, he's like, you know what? F you. See ya. HEMIBill.com, folks. HEMIBill.com. Bud, you're up.
Yeah, I'm Muscle Car Syndicate on Instagram. Just like Chris said, I was late to the game. I didn't have any social media platforms till 2018 because I thought they were just the end of mankind. And I was like, you know what? I better embrace it because it's not going away. I wish I would have done a long time ago because I'm not doing anything any different than anybody else is. But I try to give as much information, facts, production figures, anything like that, walk-arounds of cool cars I find along the way. And I get to work at a pretty cool Mopar shop, so get to post from there quite a bit. And I also have the Muscle Car Syndicate YouTube page that eventually I will try to get rolling a lot better. And I like what I think Blake said, which is, I don't have any editing equipment, have no idea how to edit. So it's just raw video. Whatever I just roll with is what I'm rolling with. And so
Nice.
if people want to see that, and they can then see all the mistakes and no edits, no nothing, all the outtakes put right in there, they come watch my page, I guess.
Awesome. Moving on, Blake. What you got, buddy?
Oh, just I guess everything's pretty much labeled the same. Facebook, DIY Hemi, YouTube, same, and Instagram as well. I don't think we're on Twitter. Yeah, I don't think so, but I could be wrong.
F Twitter.
Yeah, that's not my jam there. So yeah, we're not there. Look us up. If you need any help, just like you, bud, man, I think the best thing, the beauty in it is just raw is people love raw. It's real. I think it resonates with a lot of people. Do you, man? Keep doing what you're doing. Keep posting videos, man. If there's anything I can do to help you gentlemen out, absolutely. I'll be sure to tag you guys, send some people your way, because it's a big community. I think we all have followers with the same likeness, same backgrounds, passions, whatever. So yeah, I'm all for it, man. If there's anything I could do to help you guys out, let me know.
Thanks, Blake.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Yeah,
that's awesome. Man. That's awesome, man. Moving on. Big Block, you're up, buddy.
All right, you can pretty much find me under Big Blocks Garage on YouTube, Facebook, and I think I changed my Instagram over for the podcast, so it'd be under Madfro Monroe.
Okay.
And then, that's about it. Allegedly, we're on Twitter. That's what I was told by one of the guys. I don't know anything about it. I don't mess with Twitter.
Sure.
But that's pretty much where you can find us. Like the YouTube channel, I've had that pretty much dedicated to my C10 and the Duster projects.
Awesome.
And then the Instagram's just my daily life, but started gearing a little bit more towards business aspects.
Oh, yeah.
So far so good. I watch a lot of Blake stuff, and I've definitely been checking out Johnny's YouTube.
Nice.
Oh, thanks for visiting.
Oh, absolutely, my man.
He didn't subscribe though.
I think I did.
Yeah, it's funny.
Instagram.
Oh, is it still under that? Okay, cool.
That's what it shows, and then your name is Madfro Monroe attached to Big Blocks Garage.
There we go.
I just followed you.
Thank you, man. Thank you.
Yeah. My biggest failure in all of this is having the Mopar Hunter and Talking Mopars, because now I have to juggle two different things. And I've been looking at Facebook allows you to merge pages. So I've been trying to figure out how they do that and how I can still retain what I've built. So I'm trying to figure out how to do it, because I've been trying to figure out how to rename the Mopar Hunter. So I was thinking about just putting Talking Mopars with the Mopar Hunter. I've been exploring that stuff. But one thing I think would be fun for the subscription plan would be to give my personal tips and advice on how to start podcasts. And because I would love it if 100 more Mopar podcasts came out and actually sustained. So I would have more content to listen to, because I just love it. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Matt, you guys are doing a great job. I love your podcast.
Oh, thank you.
I think it's fun. And, the more the merrier. Like I said, I'm not a hater when it comes to other podcasts. I encourage everybody. Yeah. But I see in the chat that my coworker, Jorge, is here. Jorge, what's up, buddy? You're up late. Jorge just had a kid, so congratulations, Jorge, but you need to get your ass back to work, okay? Joe asks if we're all on Facebook. Yeah, I'm obviously on here, the Mopar Hunter or Talking Mopars podcast. Blake, DIY Hemi. Jonny Mopar. There is a second Jonny Mopar, but no offense to him, but he's an imposter.
That's right.
And Big Blocks.
He's got an H in his name. He's got an H in his name.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I don't.
All right. Jonny Mopar, this one is a minimalist. He said, you know what? No H. And Big Block, what's your exact Facebook page for your podcast?
Is Big Blocks Garage.
Okay, that's what I thought. Yeah. There you go, Joe. Follow us all, like us all, share us all.
Hey, before we end, I'm gonna segue you guys, because Big Block's on here and Chris, you're on here, and I wanted to talk real quick about movies, because I think both of you guys have talked about Cannonball Run before, right, in your podcast. But have you guys heard of Cannonball? Not Cannonball Run, but Cannonball with David Carradine, the old school movie where there's a 68 Charger in there. I mean, I think that movie was made in 76 or 79, somewhere in between.
I feel like Fro off my podcast brought it up, but I don't think he brought it up on our episode that we talked about movies.
I actually
before.
I actually expected him to, because he's the old school guy in your group, and I was like, how come he didn't bring it up?
No, he actually kicked himself for about a week after we recorded that episode about movies he never got to mention.
Yeah, dude, that movie to me. That movie, well, maybe the acting's not as good as Cannonball Run, but the cars trump everything in Cannonball Run. I mean, because it's more old school, bitchin' cars, Pantera in there. I mean, yeah, it's a badass movie. You got to see it. Check it out. Anyway, sorry for the segue.
No, that's cool. I'm in it. I got to check that out. I like the old car movies. I think they're fun. I am a fan of Cannonball Run and Dom DeLuise. I like him. Yeah. him is funny. That shit cracks me up. Him. That's funny. But yeah, everybody who is here right now and that joined us today, thank you very much. This was the first of hopefully many, and everybody that's on right now is obviously welcome back. And anybody else out there that wants to talk Mopars on here with us, hey, come on, just have some headphones. It was a good time. And this is the power of the internet. We all know each other online, but we can't do face-to-face talks for travel, things like that. But this allows us to get a little bit more personal, and I like that. It's like you're in a garage talking shit with your buddies. I think it's great. I think it's fun, and I'm down to do it again. So I'll be doing it whether anybody wants to join me or not. That's all up to you guys. I had to bring an accomplice, and my accomplice was Jonny Mopar, because I was like, look, I ain't doing it by myself. I ain't going down by myself. All right. I know the captain's supposed to go down with the ship, but there's got to be at least one other guy with him. You know what I mean? So special thanks to Jonny for joining me, and the rest of you guys, HEMIBill, and it's been a good time tonight. So thank you guys for joining.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
and,
absolutely.
Thank you.
Yeah. Awesome, guys.
For all the comments too.
Yeah. We had a lot of participation, so shout out to all you guys. I would name you all right now, but I got to be honest. I'm a lightweight these days, and these two beers have got me a little fuzzy-eyed. I'm trying to look at this. I know people are like, "What a pussy! 2 beers." I don't drink. I'm a new father. I don't have much time to drink. I'm too busy working. So when I drink a little bit, I have a good time. And I'm looking at this screen, and I'm like, all right, either I've been up for too long, or I'm a little buzzed right now. So thank you all for Thank you all for joining, and we'll see you next time right here on Talking Mopars Direct Connections. See you guys later.
Everyone.
See you guys.
Bye.
See ya.
Bye.
End of broadcast.
All right.
That's it, folks. We made it. We did it. I hope you guys enjoyed both parts of the very first ever live streamed episode of the podcast as much as my friends and I did. That was the first of what I hope to be many, so stay tuned. Very special thanks to Jonny Mopar for being my partner in crime, HEMIBill, Bud Mac Blake, and Matt for joining us on the live stream. You can find Jonny Mopar on YouTube under Jonny Mopar. You can find HEMIBill at HEMIBill.com. You can find Bud Mac at Muscle Car Syndicate on Instagram. You can find Blake at DIYHemi.com and at DIYHemi on social media. And last, but most certainly not least, Matt at BigBlocksGarage on Instagram and Facebook. And be sure to check out his podcast, Madfro Monroe, on BigBlocksGarage, wherever you get your podcasts. Also, thanks to everybody who joined us in the chat. Like I said, I hope this was just the first of many, so stay tuned. There you have it, my friends. Another episode of Talking Mopars Direct Connections is in the books, except for this time it was live. For everything you need to know about this podcast, please visit TalkingMopars.com. And don't forget that you can send me your Mopar stories, questions, comments, complaints, suggestions, and everything else on your Mopar-addicted mind to Chris at TalkingMopars.com. or leave me a voice message on my voicemail box at 209-28-MOPAR, and you're going to hear yourself on the show. Special thanks to HEMIPages.com and DIYHemi.com for the support. And one last thing before we ride off into the sunset, if you'd like to help support Talking Mopars, jump on over to the website, TalkingMopars.com, and check out the merch shop. There you're going to find all the Talking Mopars merch that I have available right now. T-shirts, hoodies, sweatshirts, stickers, and more. We got like coffee mugs, and we finally have new designs, so go take a look. By grabbing yourself some Talking Mopars merch, you're not only getting some cool stuff, but you're helping me keep the shiny side up on this podcast each and every week, so thank you for that. And I do have to mention that there is a new way to help support the show, and that's the Mopar Hunters Facebook fan subscriptions and the exclusive Facebook group for supporters of this podcast. I said last week that I'm still ironing out all the details of the exclusive content that you're going to get by subscribing to the Mopar Hunter on Facebook. But what I can tell you is that for $4.99 a month, I'm going to be giving you all sorts of good stuff. Not only are you going to get the podcast each and every week, but you're also going to get at least one bonus episode of the podcast every month, one bonus live stream per month, a special discount code for the merch shop, exclusive monthly giveaways only for subscribers, access to the Mopar Hunters Association, which is the exclusive Facebook group for subscribers, exclusive video content, bonus Facebook posts exclusively for subscribers that show the other stuff I find while hunting Mopars, like Mopar collectibles, parts, and even some of the cars that I don't share publicly on Facebook, and more to be determined as time goes on and I develop the subscriber benefits. So, if you like this show, if you like what you're getting for free right now, then consider subscribing to the Mopar Hunters Facebook page. With your support, I can take this show to the next level, and you can join me for the ride. No Mopar left behind. That's it, my friends. Until we talk again, I am your host, Chris Albrecht, and that was Talking Mopars, Direct Connections.
Thank you for listening to Talking Mopars, your direct connection to all things Mopar. Until next time, remember, no Mopar left behind.